What's going on, everybody? Hope this video finds you well. We're going to go into arm structure, part 4, on the downswing, where the trail arm, where the arm structure is going to be moving in the transition, and where we're actually going to get it finished. And again, this would be my stock model. This is not a non-negotiable. It's not like this is the only way that you can do this. But this would be the way that I would say, out of the models that I use to compare for players that I coach, this would be the way that I like to see the downswing work. So before we get into that, if you haven't checked out the last video that I did in this arm structure series, please click on that link below. I also have a free crash course, Understanding Impact. That'll be here in the description as well. Would love to have you check that out. And why don't we do this? Let's get right into it. So what we've talked about structure that we would build to the top of our motion. And again, this is what I would call structure from a stability standpoint, and this would also be structure that helps us maintain and relate this more so to the swing plane, okay? Now, our backswing is only as good as what we do in the downswing. So if I were to place levels of importances for what it is that we want to do here, I would definitely say that what happens from here to here, and even more so to the finish side, I would say that these areas right here are even going to trump everything else that we've talked about in this series, because this is really what happens when we move and when we get into the golf ball. It's like you take Tiger and Jim Furyk. Guys don't look the same. They both still had really, really good careers. However, they just sunk it up a little bit differently. They had different matchups, and that's okay. It's okay for people to have different matchups. This would be my way of explaining it to help you better understand it. So the first thing that I think we need to comprehend is, what do the shoulders do? And I'm also going to explain this piece. So this bone right here that runs from your shoulder to your elbow, that your tricep and your bicep sit on, this would be your humerus. So for me, I always talk about, I think we have a race between the forearm, which would be here, and the humerus that would be here. This would be the forearm winning. This would be the humerus winning. So we have shoulder movements that are also going to help dictate some of what happens with the humerus and the forearm and the order that these work in. So first things that we need to understand is what the shoulders have the ability to do from moving forward, neutral, backwards. So in the backswing, this would be into abduction, AB, and this in the downswing, this would be moving into duction. So this would be a forward movement of the shoulder. This would be a backward movement of the shoulder. So what I used to get in trouble with me personally, and what I've also seen out of a lot of players that I've coached, is we might get the shoulder back and we keep it back. So this is staying back here. We're not seeing any forward movement in it. And so what starts to happen here is we will see now right in here, the forearm is starting to win, which steepens the club, which now this leaves us in a predicament to either go this direction for better contact, which probably creates pulls. It can even produce fades. I don't know what it's going to produce for you unless we know what your club face is. Or we'll see players go here and they'll go this direction into an early extension to produce speed. So some of this can be caused from pressuring with the hand, getting the forearm to work down early. That can even be caused by pulling with the lead side. The lead side can be pulling down. Regardless of what it is, it's putting us into a position like this where the golf club is vertical and we have to try and get it back to this swing plane and then swing the club through on there. And there are players that we've seen on tour that do this successfully. Inside of this video, I'm going to show you what I would like to see, some ways that we can practice it, and maybe some ways that we could shed some light on how it could help you out a little bit. So The first thing that I would say we need to know is we have an access point, which would be the head. So if I put a stick right here in the ground, and I'm going to put this in the ground right here, and this is going to represent the center of me. So I'm going to set the club down here for a sec. So if you go up here, if you put your trail arm at a 90-degree angle, okay? What I would say a lot of us do is we would be getting the hand and the forearm to move closer to our median line than we would be getting the humerus here. And so one of the ways that you can practice this, and this is very important, we need to maintain the axis of where the head is, being able to keep the eyes level so we can see where the golf ball is and know where our target line is. So from here, when I would practice this, is I would rest this on my head. I would put pressure forward into my hip. So I've got a break right here in my lead side. And from here, what I want you to feel is like you're trying to win this race by getting your humerus here before your hand gets here. So this would be our hand and our forearm getting to this line first, which would look like this. That would be this move versus, I'm just going to rest this on the left side of my head, versus me driving the humerus more forward right here. Now, an important piece of this, and the reason I've got this on our head right here, is we don't want the humerus driving and we're shifting all of our mass the same direction at the same time. Because if we get the pelvis, the upper body, the shoulder, and the right side of the body going here, we could still get that golf club coming in steep. So I think we need to have a baseline or a reference for where we want this axis to stay, and we're getting the humerus to work there. So inside of this, so I have my hip pressure forward, I'd bring this to here, and this is me feeling like the trail humerus is getting to this center line before my hand and my forearm would be. So if I did this from this angle now right here, and I threw this into the ground, so if I went here and I rehearsed this up to the top, so this would be here, my pressure is forward. Now this is me driving the humerus, keeping this at this 90-degree angle as long as I can. This is my 90. This is my 90. I'm driving the humerus, so I'm not increasing this, not throwing it early. And I would be in here, and I'm going to say, here is my center line. There's my impact field with my hip. And now I'm driving this humerus into this while I'm on center right here. Now, the next place that I would go with this is where is my finish supposed to get to? So a really good relationship and a reference point that I would say is if you put, or you took one of these and we put this underneath your lead arm. Okay, so this is going to try and stick out parallel to the ground. So we know this shoulder is going into adduction, which is closer to our midline. The elbow is moving here. And now from here, when I've got this pressure up against my left hip, as I'm creating speed and the arm is starting to straighten, I want to work this around and underneath this line. I don't want this just going out and working up and over it. So this would be out, up and over it, or that can get the golf ball going too far, starting too far, or swinging in to out. For me, it would be starting too far to the right. Lefty would be starting too far to the left. And so where I would start right here, so we could even combo this right here with this. If I put this on my head, right in here. And so as I work this through, there's my feel, keeping my head center axis and working my right arm around and underneath this. Let's actually do this way, and we'll hit one here for you. We'll get that into the ground. So this is here on the head. There's my feel. Okay, I can feel how strong my lead side is. I'm gonna get this here, and I would just punch one of these. So I'm even gonna start, I'm gonna go hip pressure is minutely forward. I'm going to work this back. Humerus wins. And then I would punch one. And that would be more of what my look would be right there. Then we can start to work this into our motion from the actual top of our golf swing. So we'd work this up. I've got my center. I'm working this under, and I'm going to get this lead arm to finish underneath this stick. I'm going to keep this on the lead side of my head this time because it doesn't want to stay there. So I'd be in here, work it up, and there would be more of what my look is. So if I showed you where that was, there's where my arm is. So this arm is basically working on my shoulder line, which is completing my circle and finishing around the arc right there. So this would be a great way, I think, for you to start to comprehend and understand, because this is a tricky move in the golf swing, okay? So I'm trying to give you a way that you can see this, video yourself doing it, do it in a mirror, set up here, humerus works this way, hip pressure is forward, and we're trying to get this trail humerus to our midline, the center of us, before the forearm and the hand gets there. And then we've got this relationship of working this around through here versus just in, up and out, or steep and across it. So I hope you enjoyed that. Kind of an educational little series on some arm structure, some shoulder movements. If you have any questions whatsoever on any of this stuff here, please leave that in the comments down below. I will get back to each and every one of you. I appreciate your support. Happy holidays. We'll see you next time.